Hello everyone, welcome. Art and Gina here with something brand new, and we think you're gonna like this. It is Backstage with Eyewitness News.
Yeah, the first thing we're gonna do in showing you how we put a newscast together backstage is let you know that this IFB lets me hear the director and the producer. I had to take it out because I can hear our programming on ABC13.com. We think this is an exciting opportunity for you to get a chance to see kind of how we put a newscast together. You get a chance to meet some of the people you don't usually see on television. You get a chance to see our technology that we use, how we make decisions about what we cover and how we cover it. We're trying to show all of that to you during this next hour here on our digital platforms.
And we really hope you find it interesting, because we think you will, because this is all sort of fascinating to those on the other side of the camera, the entire Backstage event. So you can catch us on Twitter, YouTube, as well as Facebook, and all the other social media platforms out there.
Our digital app?
That's right, our digital app, of course. And if you have any questions, any comments, you want to talk to us during this program, then you just let us know. Connect to us immediately, and we will answer your questions. So let's get to the biggest stories of the day. Let's go ahead and start immediately and get to Eric Barajas. He is live in the newsroom with much more. Eric.
Hey guys, we are here in the newsroom in front of our live feeds right now. I'll show you, this is how we track breaking news a lot of times, especially if we hear about something going off on the scanners. We can see that the Sky Eye is en route. Let me show you this picture right now. Again, all the feeds we have here, but here is a live picture from Sky Eye 13 right now. Let me tell you where Sky Eye is headed. We've got some breaking news in that a truck has crashed into a church in North Harris County. Again, Sky Eye is on the way to the scene. Here's what we know right now. The church is the Resurrection Lutheran Church on Meadow Edge Lane, just west of the North Freeway. It's in Spring right now. We've heard from Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. He's tweeted out that part of that building collapsed after a truck, and it's kind of the part of the building where there's an awning there over the bus drive. Again, Sky Eye is en route right now. As soon as Sky Eye gets there, we'll definitely bring you that live scene again from Sky Eye. Let's get you to another big headline of the day, and we've been covering this story all week right now. A jury still working to decide if A.J. Armstrong killed his parents. Let's go live to ABC 13's Courtney Fisher. She's been in court the entire trial. What's the latest, Courtney?
Right now, Eric, it's the same storyline we've been telling you. I feel bad because it's more of the same. Hurry up and wait. We are on hour 16-17 of deliberations. I'd say every few hours, go back in the courtroom, check on what's going on in there. AJ's usually in there with his attorneys. We know that there have been 4 to 5 notes that the jury has sent the judge since they started deliberating, and that was on Wednesday afternoon. Some of those notes, we know at least 3 of them say we are deadlocked. The first one, just a polite message, we can't come to an agreement. The second one, hopelessly deadlocked. And the third one, I just heard from a defense attorney, it had a little more flowery language, and they just couldn't figure out exactly, basically trying to tell her in the kindest of words, how do we come to an agreement? It has been nonstop discussion. We know they asked to see some evidence. We know that they wanted to see alarm logs. We know they wanted to ask for specific witness testimony. So it's been a lot of that. Questions from them, and they're just trying to figure out what to do, how to move forward. Again, they are still deadlocked. Hour 16-17. We were talking about behind the scenes. That's what this newscast is about. So I want to address some of the questions you guys have asked me. A lot of tweets, a lot of Facebook messages. People are like, do you have any indication of what they're thinking? That's the problem. We just don't at this point. We don't know what the split is, really how they are having trouble moving forward. And so I've been talking a lot with our own ABC 13 legal analyst. I know that he is in our newsroom right now, and he's trying to actually get hooked up to a mic, and we're trying to figure that out because he's going to be here to answer a lot of your questions as well. But we can't really know exactly what they are deadlocked on at this point. So I want to tell you what happened in the last hour or so. We heard the judge read the Allen charge. And what that is basically her telling jurors, I know this is really difficult. I know you've sent me several notes saying you're deadlocked, but she said you still need to work hard to figure it out. And here's why. She says the next jury is going to have the same amount of evidence. They're going to have the same tough time, the same questions. And so if this becomes a mistrial, it still has to be retried. And guys, because it's a capital murder case, they can't change the charges at all. It must be retried. Obviously, the question will be, how would prosecutors change up their position? How would, not their position, I should say, how are they going to change up the evidence they present? How are they going to, how is the defense going to change up their presentation? So that would be if it's a mistrial. I think that we possibly, I don't know, producers trying to tell me we have a question now. Art, can I think questions from you?
Yes, I can hear you just perfectly. I hope you can hear me, Courtney. This has been such a fascinating trial, and everyone has been so engaged in this in so many different ways, I think on different levels. But why do you think, what makes it so compelling to the average viewer here?
Channel 2 News.
Well, a great question, Art. I think one of the things is that we've kind of seen AJ grow up, right? This happened and he was charged. His parents were murdered when he was 16 years old. And now he's 19 years old. And for those almost 3 years, really, this happened in July 2016. His family has not left his side. They have supported him the entire time. Now, I have talked to aunts, uncles, cousins, his grandparents, and everyone believes in AJ's innocence. So they have not faltered on that. And I think that's really gripped a lot of people, right? Because they want to know what really happened in that house and how can they be so sure AJ is innocent when police on the other side, say he's a cold-blooded killer. There is a lot of question because also when you go back to the evidence, not to get too technical, but we don't have things like blood spatter, like gunshot residue, and that we talk more in depth in our ABC13 immersive. If you guys have not seen it yet, I urge you to check it out. I think now we do have our legal analysts in the studio all hooked up, ready to go. Sorry for those technical issues, but I want to ask you now, Steve, a little bit about why people want to know. The number one question people want to know is, when are we going to find out if the jury can come up with a solution to this? The Allen charge was read, so is it going to be hours? Could it go into tomorrow? I know that's a really tough question for you to answer, but again, that's the number one question I'm getting from people on Twitter, Steve.
So, Courtney, if I knew the answer to that, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now I can. I was just hearing myself a little bit. Okay.
So if I knew the answer to that, I would go out and buy a lottery ticket. Right? Nobody knows. Nobody can tell how long this is going to take. They've been at it a long time. They've sent their third note out. Statistically, they're getting close. Just when I say that, it could drag on another 12 hours, but statistically, they're getting very close because if they send another note out, I think from the judge's standpoint, that's it. She's going to call it quits and grant a mistrial.
And one of the things about the Allen charge that I think some of us were talking about here was, has there ever been a case where the judge reads the Allen charge and then they continue deliberating and they say, we can't come up with a solution, this is a mistrial, and she then says again, keep trying harder? Or is that really, like you said, kind of the finality of it, that there will be a mistrial?
So there's no hard and fast rule on what she can do, on what she has to do, rather. But I can tell you that she's going to want to respect the jury. And she's going to want to respect their wishes, right? It's their verdict ultimately. It's not her verdict. So what she's going to do if they send another note, I think, knowing what I know about this judge, is she's going to respect their wishes. She's going to agree that, hey, we could stay at this all night. We can come back tomorrow. Nothing's going to change. And she'll likely call a mistrial. Does she have to do it by law? No. Will she do it?
Okay.
Probably so.
Okay, thank you to Steve for helping us out with that. Again, I think the interesting part of this is that we're about 16, 17 hours into deliberation. Right now, there's no sign if they will finish tonight. We don't know if they're going to go to break, to take a dinner break. But as soon as we hear anything, again, the three options in this really are only guilty, not guilty, or mistrial. When we hear that they have come to some kind of conclusion, we'll make sure to send a push alert.
Can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4,
to your
5,
phone.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
This online, ABC13.com. We're going to be able to take our camera inside the courtroom. You'll hear the audio. You'll see AJ's reaction, whatever the outcome may be. For now, we'll send it back to you.
On that breaking news I told you about at the top of the broadcast, Sky I was en route to North Harris County, where we've got part of a church that has collapsed. We're going to take you there live. Take a look at this picture. Again, Sky I arrived minutes ago, so we've been trying to take a look at this here. It appears this white box truck you see in your screen right here hit part of this awning here, part of the roof that covers over this bus drive. That sent that part of the awning collapsing right there over the top of that. Right now, we're not sure of any injuries right now, but you can see that top of that cab on that box truck was completely smashed as that awning came down. We're going to keep an eye on the situation. We are trying to get an update as to any injuries because somebody was in that truck when it hit one of the columns of this awning here. As soon as we get more information on this, we will certainly bring it to you. Okay, we're going to bring another bizarre headline right now out of Houston. But before we get to that headline, we want to take a quick break. We'll see you right back here.
Okay, so I'm standing out here on scene right now for the story that you probably are familiar with. It was breaking just a few hours ago where a Uber driver had called 911 because there was confusion, right? A passenger had died in the back seat. We thought another passenger had shot him. There was some confusing headlines trying to understand that situation. So, what we've learned now is that police are still looking for the suspect. Essentially what happened is an Uber driver drove up to where he was supposed to be picking someone up. He saw two men together, so he thought, I'm picking both of them up. So he said that the driver said that he thought the men sort of knew each other somehow. They sort of exchanged some words, maybe shook hands, and one of the men got in the back seat on the passenger side. The driver said he thought the other man was going to get in the vehicle. This is where it gets very scary. Instead, he came around to the driver's side and opened fire. So the Uber driver, in a panic, drove off. So that's where you see we're at this parking lot here. This is where he ended up, about a mile from where the shooting happened. And we're just off TC Jester and FM 1960. He stopped his car just here back behind me. I don't know how well you can see this. I am working off my iPhone here, so we're taking a live picture from my cell phone. You can see deputies still back here, and back over there is where that Uber vehicle is. So, he, in a panic, got some help from someone, but when deputies arrived, they did determine that passenger was dead. So, a very unfortunate scene here, very upsetting for a lot of us, I'm sure. We all take Uber, and it's scary to see, but I want to kind of walk you through the process, because a lot of the times what you see is an alert notification, right? If you have that on your phone, you get an alert from us letting you know we have some details, and we normally get that directly from deputies as they're trying to figure it out. So they're the first line, we're the second line. We hear from them, and sometimes we're the first because we talk with people out here who saw it, who knew it happened, and while deputies are trying to make sure everybody is safe, we can get that information. So we really work together with law enforcement. So the first thing I did was contact law enforcement, and we jumped in our vehicle. You guys probably saw me anchoring the 11 today, so I was working on something different. We found about this, we jumped in our vehicle, we came out here, and then we're tweeting and we're updating you as best we can to get all this information out. So it's been a very long day, but we're still working to get more details from deputies. You can see we're still out here working hard just alongside of them. And of course, we'll try to update you with you guys, all of those on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, Facebook. So that's a little bit about what we're seeing out here, and happy to get you guys a little behind the scenes look with us. Back to you guys in the studio.
Heartbreaking story and very frightening there. Bree, thank you for that update via your cell phone. We have some new developments in the Harding Street raid tonight. Prosecutors deciding to drop 27 charges against law enforcement officers in that deadly shooting. ABC13's Maya Shea has been following this story since it happened.
Oh, it's just been an incredible story. As you well know, just because of that raid, so many indictments have now been dropped, so many charges have been dropped. Let's find out what else is happening now with Maya standing by. Maya?
Hey there. So what's going on today is that 27 cases where disgraced former Houston police officer Gerald Goins was actually involved in the case as the case agent, as the person who signed the warrant. Something really key has been dismissed. There could be more than 1,200 1,300 cases still out there. And we're out here where it all began. I want to show you a little bit of what we're looking at. This is the house on Harding Street. This is where Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas lived for 20 years in peace with their neighbors. But now you can see it's boarded up. The families have boarded up after that January 28th botched raid. You can actually still see folks leaving flowers and candles on a regular basis. Even on the walls of the house, there are still actually bullet holes that are still there. So this is all part of what for a while will be an ongoing investigation, as a number of investigators from the FBI, the Houston Police Department, as well as the District Attorney's Office all sort of are involved in the investigation of what's taking place here. And today what we've been covering is the fallout. So now that after this raid, there's this wide-ranging investigation. You have Officer Gerald Goins was first relieved of duty, and then he retired. His former partner, Stephen Bryan, the same thing happened. A third officer who was investigating this also got relieved of duty. So the main thing is, what did the narcotics team touch besides this case? We know this case is messed up, but there's all these other cases. For 20, 30 years, these officers investigated. They are all going back and looking at all those. That's how you get the 27 cases today, how you got a couple of dismissals from before, and how you can still get 1,200, 1,300, we're not quite sure exactly what the number is down the road. So it's far from over. And what's really striking for us over the last couple of months is talking to the number of different people. They range from young folks who've been in trouble with the law before to a gentleman I talked to today, 72-year-old Willie Gray. He can't even walk, and he was charged with selling drugs at a house that he didn't even live in. That case got dismissed. So it runs the gamut, and what will happen in the weeks and months to come still remains to be seen. That's why a lot of people are still fascinated by all of this. And of course, with the feds and the district attorney and the police all investigating, there'll be a lot of results. The difficult challenge, guys, as you might have seen, is just really sort of waiting it out for answers, because there's still so much we don't know.
Maya, this has been an incredible case, just to follow the raid and now this and all the charges being dropped. It just goes on and on. No doubt we'll be talking with you much more in the future about this as well. All right, let's move on. Back to the newsroom here. Here it is. And you love the newsroom because this is where we gather all the news and we find out really what's happening behind the scenes. We're turning to a case now that Cypress contractor accused of kidnapping as well as torture. So many twists and turns in this case, and Shelley Childers has been following it all. In fact, this fugitive contacted you. We had that story on a couple of days ago as well. But what's this guy up to now?
So he is still on the run. That's the big news. The U.S. Marshals are now a part of the hunt to try to find him. Here's a look at him. This is John Indridson, a Cypress contractor. He's accused of luring two of his former employees to his home. And I have a picture of that up here. Just a brief background on the case. They were held for 9 hours inside this home. They were lured here because they were told that they were going to be packing up this U-Haul. It's a moving truck. Well, it turns out one of the victim's fathers believes that empty moving truck was actually going to be used to move their bodies. Both of those victims did survive. There are 3 suspects in this case, 2 still on the run. Only one of them is named, and that's John Indridson. He did reach out to me personally through a Facebook message, and here's a look at this long message. So it's pretty lengthy, it's pretty detailed, but simple. He's just laying out his innocence. He says he was never in the garage of his home at the time of these allegations, and that's his claim. The new information today, though, is that we're learning the U.S. Marshals are investigating a car theft and the use of stolen credit cards as related back to his contracting business, possibly connected to this case.
Well, I mean, there's surveillance video of everything as well. So this guy claims his innocence, but yet if you check out his record, this is not a nice guy.
Right. He does have a criminal history, and he actually admits that to us in his Facebook message to me. He says that he does have a felony from, I believe it was 1994, and then he has, or 95, a DWI from 2017. He says that's the reason that he's not turning himself in. He's worried about his criminal history kind of catching up to him and marring his reputation if he turns himself in.
Yeah, well, he's all okay. Whatever. I mean,
it
goes on and on. Yeah,
right.
This guy has he has a lot of baggage, and he has a lot of mugshots, and he's a criminal.
Who's wanted.
Right, who's wanted in many cases and other. All right, so we'll see where it goes. Thank you, Shelley. We appreciate that report. Great stuff, but it's just such a troubling story on this guy who is still a fugitive. Okay, let's get to Eric now. He is, I believe, outside at the helipad. Eric?
That's right, Art. That's right. We're just outside here, adjacent to the helipad where Sky I-13, our helicopter, can land at some point. But we're out here because I want to show you another tool we have in our news gathering capabilities, and that is the drone. A lot of stations are bringing them on right now. We've got executive producer Justin Sternberg here. So, Justin, we can get into a lot about the drones we have, how many, what they do. It's a relatively new tool new stations are using. What was the idea of bringing one on board here?
Well, the drone gives us a totally different aspect when it comes to, above a scene. And it's really cool. Unlike the chopper, which is really high and they zoom way in, we can fly fairly low on this thing. As you can see right there, it is really low. It's like eye level. We have 2 of these drones. These are the Phantom 4s. These are our live drones where we can take out on a scene and be live at any time. Then we have a Mavic Air, which is a really small, compact drone that can fly scenes, and it's a B-roll tool. So we can fly those things pretty much anywhere. The one downside is we can't fly in airspace. So you won't see these used at all scenes. So we can't fly in IAH airspace, Hobby, Sugarland, that type of stuff. So that's kind of the downsides, but it's opening up a little bit better.
The regulations on these are pretty strict, and we, being Disney, owned by the Disney company, we go by a lot of red tape to get our pilots certified and through a lot of classes. Tell us about what goes in to being able to be one of the people here at ABC13 to be able to fly one of these drones.
Yep, I mean, we have currently 7 drone pilots right now. Scott right now is the one that's flying. We had to go through a pretty rigorous class, take FAA testing to get certified for our 107 license, and then we also had to go out and learn how to actually fly them. So we spent an entire 2 or 3 day period where they taught us different maneuvers, how to control the drones, make sure when we're butting up against things, how we can avoid objects and that type of stuff. It's very deceptive. When you're looking at it sitting right here, you don't see exactly where it is, and it could be really close to one of those things. So you have to learn that depth perception on it. Scott, if you want, once you take it up and kind of give us some shots of the tower up there. What he's doing right now is he can go right, he can go straight up, he can come straight down, he can what we call yaw left and yaw right. The yawing just spins the drone, and then it'll give us whatever different perspectives we want. And then you also have and then it can go forward. And these things can go pretty quick. And
you were talking about airspace as well. What's the maximum altitude that you were allowed to take these, since the airspace is involved in this drone?
Right. I mean, it all depends. It depends on where the ground is. Technically, we don't fly very high. In the grand scheme of things, we're flying maybe 100 meters tops, but we can go up to 500 meters. Now, let's say that we want to fly the top of that tower. We can go above that tower, and then now that's our ground, and we can go straight up from there. So now we have another 500 meters from there to fly above that. So it all depends on what the surface we're flying on, where we're flying, if we're flying over water, if we're flying over land. It all varies.
Okay, all right. Executive producer Justin Sternberg here. We've got our pilot, well, as Scott, doing a fine job. So again, just to look at one of the tools that we've been deploying here at our station, and you're starting to see a lot more around the country at different news stations as well. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. That's a great background look at the tools we have to look from the sky. Now, speaking of the sky, you were looking at the other picture as well of Sky Eye. Here's another one. You remember this chase, perhaps? There it is, that van right there, just out of control. And finally, the police were able to get him to stop, and they were trying to use that pit maneuver. But all of these chases are just able to be captured in an incredibly enlightening way now over the city of Houston. That's all because of the new Sky Eye technology. Don Armstrong, he's up there. He's our reporter in the sky. He captured this and so much more. Don, it's actually great to see you on TV. All we see is the ground. Now it's good to see your face. Tell us about this technology.
Well, the technology is really incredible, Art, as you have seen and witnessed for yourself. It's what we call our SkyMap 13 technology, and it is a system that was built into this brand new Bell Helicopter 505, and it truly is remarkable. It's based on police actual technology that was developed through the police departments several years ago. And we have transformed it, translated it into our use here on television. And as you know, that the SkyMap technology gives us maps as we fly over in real time. Matter of fact, I'm going to change the camera right now, and I'm going to turn it around here first of all before I switch it. But I'm going to actually give you an idea of what we're dealing with here. I've tried to keep the camera stowed in the back because the bugs are out, as you can imagine, with our beautiful weather that we're having. But the SkyMap technology is really, truly incredible. And one of the things that we have going for us are the overlays with the maps. And there's one now, as a matter of fact. So you can see exactly where we are. We're actually south of downtown. We're headed toward Hobby Airport. If I tilt up here a little bit, you'll be able to see 610 and 45, the Gulf Freeway there. But as you can tell, it gives us a real opportunity to see exactly where we are, especially in the chases that you mentioned.
Yeah, John,
so,
that is
that's just part of...
No, I was just going to say, it's just so interesting and fascinating to see that, because as you're flying, you can just see the streets drop off and other streets pick up. And then as when you're involved in trying to follow all of those people who are being chased or get into a crash scene or get into a fire or whatever it may take, it's just amazing while everyone else in the city is able to find out where they are.
Well, you know, and the other thing, too, Art, in that regard is the fact that when we have a scene to go to, all I have to do is actually input it into the SkyMap 13. It will drop a pin where we need to go. It'll tell me exactly how far away it is and actually the direction we need to travel with the helicopter and how fast we're going and how long it'll take us to get there. Wow. So the information that we get off of it is truly invaluable.
Yeah, it really is. Don Armstrong, live in Sky Eye.
There you go.
It is, there's the speed as well. Great, you're going 120, you better slow down. Just kidding. Hey.
Exactly.
Great, Don, thank you very much. It's been great talking with you. We appreciate it. Look at that view, just incredible. It is the technology that we have for you right here on ABC 13. But let's continue with it and get to the newsroom with Alana Carson right there in the newsroom. Hello, Alana.
Yeah, hey, Art, first of all, who knew Don Armstrong's eyes were so blue? Did you guys see that? They were as blue as his shirt, and we never get to see it because we don't see him on TV, we just hear his voice. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys were talking about chases because this is so huge for us on our digital platforms and our digital footprint. You hear us talking about YouTube, and I'm joined by our digital supervisor, Brandon De Hoyos. And Brandon, the YouTube channel is a really big part of our product and our content here at ABC 13, right? I'm going to hand you the mic.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct, Alona. You know, these intense situations that we see on Houston roadways should come as no surprise. This is the most viewed content on our YouTube site, ABC 13 Houston on YouTube. As you can see, we've got dozens of videos available for you to see some of that new technology that Don Armstrong was just talking about there for the taking. Many of you will remember this chase with the stolen Dodge Hellcat. This was on the East Freeway, and I guess this is 2 years ago now. This is this is incredible footage, and again, it's all available on the YouTube page, and again, it's just crazy footage.
Yeah, so we were just talking about some of the numbers. We have dozens of chases on there, so if you take a look at our YouTube platform, that is really the most popular thing by a long shot. And then it turns out of our chases, the Hellcat is like a classic chase here in Houston. I mean, just huge numbers. And it's also really a way that you can get a better idea of how it all played out. You know, we cover it live for you, but then it's really something that people want to go back and see again, and that's what you'll see. I mean, when you're talking about those kind of numbers, tell us about what it is that YouTube does for you that the on-air channel cannot, because it's really all these platforms have a different role.
Absolutely. Well, in real time, you know, a lot of times when these chases pop up, you know, we hear shouts from assignment desk. Yeah. We've got a chase, and sometimes we're not even on air. So really, this is the first point of access. Really, it's about safety and security, protecting the people on the roadways and letting them know exactly where this danger might be headed.
Yep, absolutely, and that's a huge part of it. And so we work, as you can see, you can watch it after the fact, but you just saw Don Armstrong up there in Sky Eye really helping you figure out where that chase is happening, where the danger may be on the roadways. And so this all works together and comes together on these different platforms. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back in the newsroom with Art and Gina.
And this is Sky 13, and what dramatic images from Deer Park. 8 tanks now burning at ITC.
What's behind us right now is the first ever of its kind, a Bell 505 with a full state-of-the-art ENG package. What's cool about it is it's fuel efficient, it's fast, it's state-of-the-art. It has a Garmin package in it, a Garmin 1000. This aircraft is Wi-Fi ready. It's all Ethernet based. If you wanted to do troubleshooting or servicing, it could be done remotely. So there's a lot of stuff in it that previous helicopters didn't have. So the camera and gimbal is a shot over M1, which is a light gimbal. There's only currently 3 M1s right now in the world. We have one here, and it's a 6-axis gimbal. Allows you to do a lot of pointing straight down without having any kind of gimbal lock issue. It also has a state-of-the-art IMU built in it. So a gimbal with a good IMU allows good data for the mapping system to be accurate. You can do telestrating on this thing in the air. You can also track a car, see how fast it's going. It'll tell you the speed of the vehicle. This helicopter is equipped with a Churchill navigation system, world-renowned for not only finding places, but also detailing street overlays, a mapping system that overlays onto your video image, which are very important, especially at night when you're trying to look for a location. So you'll be able to get to somewhere faster, also know where you're at. Nighttime footage is going to be a lot better. We have a Nikigami F3000. You'll be able to see a lot more detail. You see video detail, you also see geographically where you're at and what's happening. So the dynamic range for night on this thing, when you crank up the gain on this camera, you are going to see night almost into day.
Ordinary people.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? We're back here in the newsroom, actually back into the investigation offices of our ABC13 newsroom here. We want to talk about something that every Houstonian at this point knows about it to some degree, because it's been in the headlines for at least well over a year, actually more than that. We're talking about Prop B, that huge, messy argument between the mayor and firefighters trying to get what they call pay parity. It's how that's being worded from firefighters. We're here. We're going to turn to Ted like we do on the broadcast all the time. And Ted, I talk to a lot of people about this on the street sometimes. They've just got curious questions because this has actually gone on for so long. Again, it's been so messy. Mayor Turner has been in the headlines because he's at the forefront of this negotiation, but this has been going on for almost 3 mayors now, where they've not had a contract, and they want this pay parity.
It has been going on for a long time, and it has gotten awfully personal lately, hasn't it? I mean, I think all of your viewers and our neighbors and our friends, they all say, "Why? You know, what's going on between the firefighters?" It's not just between the firefighters and the mayor. This has gone on for a long time. And if you take a look at this, Mike. Look at this. Between 2004 and 2011, firefighters got a 37% raise. But then look at that lower number, 3%, just 3% since 2011, and nothing since 2014. So that's the crux of the issue, right? That's really where firefighters are. They're saying, look, we can't get a contract. We can't get a fair raise. And there's a million reasons for that. But that's what firefighters are upset about. 3% since 2011, nothing since 2014.
Okay, well, those are some big disparities right there in those numbers. Now, we know at some point here in the middle, you could say, of this huge argument that's gone on for years, it got put to a vote. Voters overwhelmingly approved this, Ted, almost 60%, right?
Right, absolutely, 59%, and that was 6 years ago, and the election said this should go into effect right now, and that's part of why some firefighters are so angry. They said, voters approved this, 300,000 voters approved this, give us our money. They want it now. They're concerned how long it's going to take, 3 years, 5 years, and that's what this mediation is about that we've been talking about this week.
We know the mediation's in there, and of course, that's one of the big sticking points that I wanted to touch on right there. What's the other crux here? I mean, again, it's gone to mediation, which I know the mayor didn't want. Right. Firefighters Union probably did because they were getting nowhere with the mayor. What's the other sticking point besides phasing this in over 3.5 versus 5.5?
Yeah, well, okay, so the mediation right now, you're right. The mayor didn't want it. The mayor wants to implement this the way he wants to implement it. He didn't think the mediation would be successful. A judge said, you have no choice, Mr. Mayor. Get your team there. They'll be back at it next Thursday. But in the meantime, council has agreed on these layoffs. 67 fire cadets will be out of a job come July 1st. 220 firefighters without a job come July 1st. If they can stretch that out, that's why the mediation is so important. If they can stretch this out over 3 years or 5 years to give the firefighters the pay raise, then those layoff numbers would come down. Under some plans, the layoff numbers would come down to 0, which is very important.
That's right, and there's always developments in this. Anything happening as of today?
Okay, right. So Ryan asked a question on our Facebook earlier today about demotions, and this is a new wrinkle, right? We've always talked about layoffs. We talked that City Council approved layoffs on Wednesday. Well, we didn't know. What they were actually approving was not just layoffs, but demotions. At least 250 firefighters will go to a lower rank, which in most cases means lower pay. Maybe hundreds more will be demoted as well. That wasn't in the vote, or it at least wasn't talked about. And so the fire union, very upset. That's the latest wrinkle. That's what we'll hear about all weekend and going into next week when this mediator tries to find some common ground. And if they can do that, let's all hope. I think that would all be best for Houstonians.
I think it's ready. We're all ready at some point for this to get put to bed at some point and try to make everybody happy if that's possible. It doesn't seem like it, but either way. Ted, thanks for getting us caught up up to speed on that, because it is convoluted at points for a lot of us to understand. All right?
Thanks, Eric.
Back to you guys.
Convoluted indeed. Thank you so much, Eric and Tad. We have some breaking news that we have been following in North Harris County. A truck slamming into a church. ABC 13's Pooja Lodi is on that scene and updates us on what's going on there. Pooja?
This really is a terrible situation for everybody involved. The driver, as we speak, is at Memorial Hermann Hospital. He was taken there by helicopter. And when you look at the damage, you can see just how bad this crash is. You can see that the box truck actually hit the carport of this church, and then part of the building then collapsed on top of the truck. I do want to show you a different angle from Sky Eye, actually, just so you can get a better look at this damage to really get an idea of what the scene is like out here. We're at Resurrection Lutheran Church. Again, that driver at Memorial Hermann Hospital. Deputies say that there were 2 other passengers inside the truck when this crash happened. Luckily, those 2 other passengers are doing fine, but we are still waiting for more information on how the driver of this truck was doing. I have spoken to the pastor of this church. He tells me that thankfully there was nobody around this church, really in that part of the building at all, when this crash happened. So nobody else was injured other than that driver. And we will, of course, let you know how he's doing as we learn more. Reporting live, Pooja Lodi, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Pooja, thank you. Well, I am back here in our studio right here by the big weather desk. And this is where I'd usually be standing if I was about to talk to one of our meteorologists. And they'd be standing right here working on their computers. And then they would walk over to this screen. Come on, screen. There it is. This we call the BAM, because look at how big this monitor is. It's huge. We were quite excited when we got this piece of technology. Anyway, they'll bring you the forecast from here generally, or occasionally they'll be right across the hall in Studio B, and that's where they'll often be answering your questions via Facebook Live. And Art Rascone, I see you there. I see both of us in this shot.
Yes,
you want to take us to Studio B?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you don't have, as they say, Gina, and you know this, and my apologies for telling the audience this, but they always say, get your bum to the BAM.
Your bum to the BAM. Boogie on over to the BAM.
She's over there at the BAM. I'm still in Studio A. There is the studio behind me, and now we're going to walk this direction to Studio B. This is the studio where they answer a lot of Facebook questions. And Travis Herzog is right over here, chief meteorologist for the ABC.
Captain America himself.
I do have the Captain America t-shirt on under me. You can't see it.
Wait, shh. You're going to scare away the blue water down in Galveston.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Beautiful.
Have you seen it? We actually have some video. Look at this.
Blue water?
Look.
Really?
Look.
What? Oh, wow. Look at that.
It's back, Art.
It is back.
The blue water. Remember, it was about a year ago we had
yes,
that blue water?
I remember that.
And everyone went down to Galveston to see it because they're used to seeing muddy water.
It only lasted a few days.
Just a few days, and it has to do with ocean currents, right? So we've got light currents in the Gulf right now because we have light winds, and as long as those winds stay pretty light, the blue water is going to stick around. But next week, the wind's going to crank up out of the southeast. Bye-bye blue water. So headed down to Galveston this weekend.
Is that bye-bye humidity as well?
No, it's hello humidity.
Oh, hello humidity. Okay, that's right.
Big
because
time
we've
humidity.
been enjoying some days with some very pleasant mornings.
Right. So this weekend, though, I think they're going to have some more of that nice blue water. So this is our Studio B, our digital weather center, where we'll do Facebook Live. Sometimes I'll be live on TV. Earlier this week I was. And David Tillman was in here, and he was answering your Facebook questions. So we can do the weather from right here anytime. And so here's a look at what we're talking about in Galveston right now. 79 degrees. Earlier today, Galveston, you hit a record high. You tied a record at 84, and things are going to start cooling off now. Here's a look at our time lapse from earlier. We have a tower cam that's aimed right at downtown Houston. It's one of the best views you'll see of our lovely city, and it showed the clouds that were popping back in. Got some awesome weather in the forecast for this weekend. We're talking temperatures in the mid-80s for highs on Saturday and Sunday. We will see more clouds in the sky on Sunday with that breeze kicking in from the southeast. Also want to let you know that we do have some ozone pollution problems. We've seen some poor air quality from downtown to the south and southwest sides, and the winds are coming in gently from the northeast. So that's blowing that ozone pollution to the southwest into parts of Fort Bend and Brazoria counties. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the air quality. We've also seen that as we get into next week, we're going to be starting to see an increase in moisture. All right, so temperatures right now expected to drop down in upper 50s, low 60s overnight. As we get into Saturday, we're looking for highs back in the mid-80s, a little bit lower temperatures as you get closer to the Gulf of Mexico. And then as we get into Monday, that's when things are really going to start changing. For now, we are out of the jet stream flow. The jet stream is that river of air that moves at a fast speed at the level the jets fly, about 25,000 to 30,000 feet off the ground. That's what pushes weather systems around the globe. And when we're out of the jet flow, it's really difficult to get any rain around here. So for that reason, we'll be dry through the weekend, which I'm not going to be complaining about. Look at West Texas on Saturday. Highs in the low 90s. We'll be in the mid-80s. And as the Gulf breeze strengthens on Sunday, that's going to keep our temperatures in the mid-80s, while in the western parts of the state with some drier air, they pop above the 90-degree mark. Now, here's a look at a future radar loop for Wednesday. It's amazing what we can see with our future track into next week. It does look like there may be a severe weather maker coming into the plains. We will be on the tail end of it. So it's questionable right now as to whether or not we'll get any of these storms. The odds will definitely increase as you get into North Texas, and they've been pegged right now for the possibility of some severe storms on Tuesday into Wednesday, and it remains to be seen if we're going to get any of that around here. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Some next kind of big rainmaker that we're watching. And in terms of rainfall, we're looking at 1 inch down towards the coast, 2 inches north of Houston, and 3 to 5 up in North Texas. And real quickly, I'll get you your 10-day forecast here. Things are looking pretty good as we head through the weekend. Then that Gulf breeze kicks in. Say bye-bye to the blue water in Galveston. Hello to the humidity. And then back come the rain chances. 40% odds by Wednesday into Friday. And it looks like our streak of sunny weather might be over next weekend. This might be the last best weekend we have in the tank before the summer months. So I'd encourage all of you to take advantage of it. Let's go back now to Alona Carson. I don't know where she is in the building, but I'm going to guess she's somewhere around on the property.
You know what, Travis? You guessed wrong. I am outside of the building because we are talking about a big question on a lot of parents' minds this week. What are you wearing to drop off or to pick up when you go to your child's school? You know, this has been a huge talker this week. Earlier in the week, we told you about this new dress code for parents, not the kids, but parents at Madison High School. ABC13 Stephen Romo has been following this viral story all week long, and now he's also getting reaction from the principal at the center of it all.
Hey guys, it's Stephen Romo here outside Madison High School. It's the place where the new parental dress code has been instituted, and a lot of parents are not happy about it. They say they're grown and they don't need advice from school administrators on how to dress. Well, we sat down with the principal, Carlotta Otley Brown. She's only been principal here at Madison for 29 days, but she's been an administrator for decades, and she says she's had this same policy at other campuses before. A part of it is she says that she doesn't want to distract kids if parents show up wearing leggings or shorts that she thinks are inappropriate, or even bonnets on their hair, curlers in their hair. She says part of it is that distracts students from learning, but another part of it, she says she wants these kids to have a good example, an example for academic excellence.
Quite surprised by the attention, very, very much so surprised by the attention, but it's been different. It's been different. And so I'm surprised. I thank those who are supporting me, and those who are not, I hope that they would understand what I'm trying to do.
Now, a lot of the parents say if this were an HISD-wide policy, that would be one thing, but they feel singled out just for this campus. They also say maybe there's a racial element that they feel about it because of Madison High School's demographics. Well, Carlotta Otley Brown says no matter what, this policy is not going anywhere. She says that it's already had good results. And she also says she's got a lot of positive feedback from all over the world, people who say she needs to stick to her guns.
All right, Stephen, certainly plenty of comments coming in, as you just said, from all around the world. We have 2 comments from parents just to share with you, just to give you a tiny little cross-sampling of what we are seeing out there. Patsy saying, adults should know what is appropriate attire, but clearly don't. What kind of job could you apply for in see-through clothing? Good for the principal for trying to teach what students should know. But Tracy, she's got a different take on this one. She says education should be the #1 priority, and HISD is not doing that. May need to evaluate those priorities first. Some teachers and administrators need to have a dress code themselves for that matter. So as we head back into the studio to check back in with Gina, we are certainly hearing both sides to this still viral issue happening at Madison High School.
Elena, thank you for that. Well, a lot of you have some big plans for the weekend, and you're going to want to know which roads and which freeways to avoid. I'm here with Elisa Rivas for the traffic update for the weekend.
Weekend traffic just doesn't seem fair, but it's become part of life here in Houston. So let's take a look at what's going on. If you are starting the weekend now, we do have a major problem for you over in the Kemah area. This is the Kemah to Seabrook Bridge. This is on the north side of the bridge. A total closure right now due to a 3-vehicle wreck. This has been here for a half hour to an hour maybe. So there is an investigation underway, and it will be there for a while. So adjust your plans accordingly. Again, on the north side of the Kemah Bridge, this is the camera view from NASA Road 1 at State Highway 146. But this is not our only issue. We've got a lot going on this weekend. We like to call this our weekend steer clear. So we've got construction cones really all across the area. Let's take you first to downtown as we zero in on what's happening. If you're going to catch an Astros game this weekend, a potential Rockets game on Sunday, notice that the US 59 I-10 interchange is going to be a real mess with closures of the ramps. US 59 northbound and southbound ramps to I-10 closed starting tonight at 9 o'clock. Also, I-10 eastbound, the exit to US 59 northbound, closed throughout the weekend, so just be aware of that. And 290, our construction projects continue there, eastbound and westbound, restricted lanes between Mason and Pinemont starting tonight at 9, all the way through the weekend. They'll direct you over to the feeder road. And if you are hitting the road for San Antonio or you live in the Brookshire area, Katy, Sealy, this warning is for you. A total closure in Waller County, eastbound and westbound at FM 1489. Throughout the weekend. If you just want to steer clear of it all together, you can use US 90 throughout the area. And yes, we are always filling you in on what's going on with the traffic. We got a little group and we love to hate on Houston traffic. So the Houston Traffic Haters Facebook group, join Catherine Whaley and I there. We are filling you in on all of the closures and traffic details going on. And of course, everything you need to know at ABC13.com.
Hey guys, I'm Catherine Whaley, and I want to show you what we do every single day to get you ready for traffic on Houston area roads and freeways. So we're here in the ABC13 studio, and I'm literally taking you behind the scenes to the ABC13 Traffic Center. Now we have access to over 1,000 Houston TransStar cameras showing you live conditions on our roads and freeways. I gather information from law enforcement, from my contacts in the community, and from social media, and put all that information together using this traffic computer to make graphics that you see on TV. About to go on. And that's how it's done. And when you don't see me on TV, I'm posting up-to-the-minute traffic updates on social media at Catherine ABC13. I just shared rush hour rankings right here on Twitter. In addition to covering those day-to-day traffic headaches, I also cover future traffic. So be sure to tune in mornings all next week. I'm showing you how to outsmart summertime slowdowns. I've got information on a road project that could impact your ride down to Galveston.
What's up?
I
I am in North Harris County right now. We actually just received a call about an hour or so ago. I was working on a different story, but I received a call from our assignment desk who wanted to tell me about this horrible situation unfolding right here at this church. I want to turn my camera around so you can really take a look for yourself. Again, we're in North Harris County, and you can see all that damage over there to the church. According to deputies, a man was driving a truck, and the top of that truck hit the carport there inside the church. Unfortunately, that caused the entire carport to then collapse. That driver was then taken to Memorial Hermann Hospital by helicopter. There were 2 other passengers in the vehicle, though, and those 2 other passengers, we are told, are doing perfectly fine. But again, a lot of people out here very concerned about this one driver who's at Memorial Hermann Hospital. I just kind of wanted to give you a behind the scenes look at what these scenes are like out here. You can see deputies have left the scene. They left here, as they usually do, actually very soon after Life Flight came, in order to take that man to the hospital. So as of right now, you can see there is tape surrounding that area. I did speak to the pastor. He said that there would still be services as planned on Sunday. And we also talked to a couple of people who were just here on church property who were just concerned, because when we do cover these horribly tragic stories, we often run into people who just come out to see what's going on. They want to, of course, make sure that people are okay. Maybe they saw something on our social media pages. Maybe they saw something on our websites, but of course they come out here just to see what is going on themselves. So some of those church people we spoke to earlier said that, of course, they will be praying for this man. They tell us that they are glad that there weren't any other churchgoers who were around when all of this happened, because again, you can see this damage. Let me see if I can I don't know how well you can see it in there because it is across the street, and but there is quite a bit of damage. Speaking of being across the street, I just want to make that clear. When we cover these stories, a lot of times we do stay across the street. Most of that is, of course, to show respect to those churchgoers, to the family of the person involved in that tragic crash here, and also because deputies a lot of times will be collecting evidence. A lot of times the investigation will still be going on, so we like to try to keep our distance, try not to get in the way too much, while still being able to bring you the news. Again, right here in North Harris County, a lot of people really just hoping that all of this turns out okay. Really looking at the damage, it really is just horrifyingly sad when you think about what this whole situation must have been like right when this whole thing happened. I'm going to send it back to you guys back in the studio, though.
Pooja, thank you. We're going to shift gears considerably because I am in our building with probably the funnest crew in the funnest room.
There's no question about
that.
that.
The sports office.
There's no question about it. Welcome to the ABC13 Sports Lounge. This is where it happens, Gina.
I like that you call it a lounge.
Absolutely.
The only place called a lounge. Okay, we want to talk about the draft. It is NFL Draft Day 2. The Texans made a huge pick first round last night. Titus Howard.
You got it.
Tell us.
Alabama State. This guy dominated the press conference today. I don't think he's probably, Gina, ever been in front of a podium with that kind of an audience in his life, and yet he stands up there and dominates the program today. I was so impressed with Titus Howard. This guy shows up from Alabama State, tiny program in Alabama. This backstory is unbelievable. His mom is sure that he is a big-time football player. He's a quarterback in high school. Quarterback. Runs around with the football, throws passes. She gets on Facebook, contacts the coaches at Alabama State and says, can my son walk on and play? That means no scholarship at Alabama State. Coach gets back to her and says, sure, let me meet this young man. Meets him, is blown away, gives him a chance. He's a tight end to begin with at Alabama State, shifts over to the offensive line. Mom Teresa, a wonderful woman, explains that my young son grew 1 inch one semester, then it was 1.5 inches. Now he's over 320 pounds. He is here to pave the way for Deshaun Watson. I said, what do you feed this guy so he can transition from quarterback, kind of tiny, into an offensive lineman in the NFL? Without pausing, she says, I fed him Kool-Aid pie. I still do, and he loves it, Gina. Texans fans, give this guy a chance. You're going to love him. We're going to welcome in our sports producer extraordinaire, Joe Gleason. A little bit more about this guy. Again, you love the way he carried himself today.
I really do. I mean, going into today or last night after they made the pick, you're like,
who is this guy? And couldn't they have picked him down later and waited? And then after hearing him at the press conference, you're like, oh my God, now I know why they went up to get him. Just impressive. He's done everything the right way, the hard way, never given anything. He's earned everything. He was 6'2" his senior year at Monroe County High School, 225. Now he's 6'5", 322. So he's really earned everything. And everybody that's met him is blown away by his personality, and I was too. The story, the personality is just unbelievable. I can't wait to see him on the field now.
And Gina, Joe pointed out this afternoon, 24 teams visited with this guy before the draft. That's an unheard of number. They all loved him. Everybody wondered last night, why pick him in the first round? That's why. Joe pointed that out this afternoon. Teams love this guy. Texans had to get him in the first round or he was going to be gone.
And you think about all the positions he's played, it shows you just what a true athlete he is.
And he understands the game of football. He won the Texans over when they met with him at the Combine, that first sit down. Part of that was his understanding of the game of football, that quarterback position. You have to know what everybody on the field's doing. He understands that. He's going to come in here and do great things. Might take him a little while. Be patient. Big transition, but if you give him a chance, you're going to love him.
So I want to make a personal appeal. Mama Howard, I want that Kool-Aid pie recipe.
Yeah.
I have a couple boys. I need to grow 3 inches or more.
They're on their way to the NBA, the NFL, or whatever, right? You got some mouths to feed.
Some Kool-Aid pie recipe. That's awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing what the Texans do with this second round pick tonight. They don't. How many picks? 3 picks this round?
3 picks tonight, 54, 55, and 86.
Okay. Well, you'll be able to watch that on our broadcast station on ABC13. I don't know which direction I'm heading. I'm taking a break, as a matter of fact, all of us are taking a break. We'll be right back, though, in just a bit.
Tom and Samika, back to you. Okay, guys, so once I'm done in the studio, that's when my day truly gets started. Okay, so now that the show is over, I'm back here at my desk. This is when my day truly gets started, and I start planning all of my shoots for the week and for the month, setting up my interviews and just trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about to teach you guys something each and every day, ways to save money and tips that you can actually learn from. And coming up next week, we are talking Sleep Week. Well, coming up on Monday morning, we are putting these gravity blankets, they're 15 pounds, to the test to see if they really do what they're supposed to do. And then on Tuesday, we're talking the cooling trends in mattresses, cooling blankets, sheets, and cooling pillows. And then on Wednesday, sleeping positions. How do you sleep? I'm totally a side sleeper. We're gonna find out what your sleep position means about your personality, as well as just looking into ways you can get a better night's sleep with all of these tips coming up next week.
ABC13's HDX Plus shines the spotlight on Houston's surrounding towns and communities. Inspiring stories, unique events, people and places you'll never forget. See all of our HDX Plus stories on ABC13's YouTube channel.
You don't have to worry. I will never let you down.
Welcome back to ABC 13 Plus Backstage with Eyewitness News, and boy, are we big fans of this big fella with the huge voice.
Oh, what a voice he has. We are talking about Uche, and he has been performing on American Idol for some time now. It's been incredible as he has continued to move up. He has just wowed the judges from the very beginning.
It's a bummer he's out now.
And now he didn't make the top 8. So he is out now, but guess what? He dropped by the studio today. I don't know if you were able to catch him. I missed it. Yeah, Alita Laresca was here. She was able to interview Uche.
All right, you guys, there is excitement in the air here at ABC 13 Studios because
Uche is
Hey,
here.
what's up? She just turned it on.
Oh my
She was
gosh.
lit 2 seconds ago. She said.
I'm
The Newsboys.
I am still so excited. I mean, I know American Idol. By the way, Uche from American Idol, just coming off of that. You've only been home for a couple of days. How does it feel to be home?
It was cool, dude. I locked myself in my room for a bit so I could take a nap. I need to sleep. I needed to sleep. And then, yeah, last night I went to a Snoop Dogg concert. It was like my first time like going out. It was crazy. Like we were walking in and I was getting stopped for pictures and I was like, is Snoop behind me or something? But they were like, they were wanting pictures with me. It was really cool.
All right, well, talk about your experience on Idol. I mean, it feels like just yesterday you were trying out. I still remember the tryouts and how Lionel Richie was. Lionel Richie was a no at the beginning.
He was, and then he wasn't, and it was in the best way. That was such a God thing, and for it to come full circle with him snatching me up and putting me in the top 10, like I've been thanking God ever since. I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed. Like, you know, since I was a little kid, I've been like wanting and praying and hoping for something like this to happen. And then it's all of a sudden you wake up and you're on TV. Like, what?
It gave me goosebumps, you know, when they talked about where you came from.
Good.
This little boy from Nigeria.
Well, we want to talk now about the story that we've been following for the last several weeks, and we're following it tonight, and that's the still developing story of the trial of A.J. Armstrong, on trial for the alleged murder of his parents. And we have been on this one, and we still are, because the jury's still deliberating tonight.
They are still deliberating. They're going way past hours here. Let's get to Courtney. She's there at the courthouse. And Courtney, we have some questions that have come in since we've been on the air for the past hour. And the first question, I'll just tell you, please, because we have several of them, just answer them very, very quickly. First question, how long will the jurors meet?
I'm sorry, can you ask that one more time?
How long will the jury meet tonight and perhaps even on Monday?
Right, so there's no end time to this point. Around 4:30, they came back and they said, we are still deadlocked, and the judge gave the jury two options. She says, you can come in tonight or you can come tomorrow on a Saturday. I'll leave it up to you. And they said, we're going to keep hashing this thing out. There was really no time limit tonight. I've been talking to our legal analyst. He says it is possible that they are still working hard and that they would come back to her and say, we want to come in on Saturday. We are exhausted tonight. Of course, another option is to come up with a verdict or decide that this is a mistrial. So they're going to keep talking tonight. Right now, we have no indication for how long that could be.
Courtney, Angelica wants to know whether or not they can use a lie detector test on A.J. Armstrong.
Great question. I mean, at this point, though, all of the evidence is done. And I know lie detector tests are not admissible in court. So right now, the jury has to really just hash out all of the evidence that they have. The physical stuff that we've seen in court, like the alarm logs. We know the text messages between AJ and his parents. They asked to see those again. We know that they've also asked to see the transcript of some of the witness testimony. That's all that they can look at, the stuff that we all saw in court. They can't introduce anything more. Any other questions?
No, I think that about wraps it up for now, but we appreciate you staying late tonight, and we hope that the jury gets a decision one way or the other soon. I know they are hoping to wrap it up as well.
Yes. Thank you very much, Courtney. All right, we'll be back right after this quick break.
Hi, I'm Elijah Scholes, and I'm a professional aero sign spinner. So I got into sign spinning about 5 years ago. My brother Danny Partita introduced me into it, and I started spinning in NorCal like a good month later, and that's was my beginning of like sign spinning.
I didn't know he was a sign spinner until the moment like he showed me and just did a handstand with the sign, and I'd say that was probably something that like blew me away.
Here we go. To be a sign spinner, it takes practice. Oh, wiggle. Skill, I taught her that. A good smile. When I first got introduced to sign spinning, first they showed me the basic combo. Start with 3 basic tricks. The basic spin, behind the back, and basic flip. And that's just the basic combo. After that, you just start advancing. The tricks come in at practice. Every single year, we have this aero sign spinning competition in Las Vegas. People from all around the world, like Korea, Poland, California, Mexico. It's like a whole family reunion. We just leave it to the best one who wins. Everyone comes in from all around the world and we all spin it out, show each other tricks that they're working on. At competition, it gets wild.
I was really impressed. I was like, I didn't know sign spinning was really like a big culture.
It literally takes just hard work and effort because you gotta like work every single day, practice some new tricks, bring like the new thing out. I created this trick called the equilibrium where you spin the sign on the bottom of your foot while you're in midair. So in that process, I practice handstands, my backflip, push-ups. There's a lot of workout and training put into your work.
Seeing him work out and like really like be enthusiastic about it inspires me because I feel like I should be doing that too.
When she first started, she could barely like lift up the sign, you know? And then like a week, 2 weeks, month in, she could spin the sign like crazy, like really fast. That's the beauty of sign spinning. Yeah! You can turn someone's day from being terrible to like really making their day like, wow, I'm inspired. A lot of people will be smiling at me. Some are also like, you know, booing you down because, you know, they're a little grumpy that day. But then like when that happens, I point at them, I'm like, hey, check it. You know, I do a really cool trick and then I bring that like frown upside down.
All right, welcome back to one of those coolest rooms here at the studio. This is a great room. Look right here behind us. And this is where all the guys, this is where the real action takes place. Wave, guys and
our
gals.
Our producing team, our directors,
yes.
They do a great job of making sure we get on the air looking like we reasonably know what we are doing.
Yeah, the only reason we look good, and I'm not saying
Assuming we do look good.
Assuming we do, is because of them.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to give them a shout out.
A great crew, absolutely. But this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, we certainly hope that you'd enjoyed it with us. You know, we're going to be back, of course, on television the old-fashioned way at 10 o'clock. We'll be wrapping up the day's news, of course, the draft we're keeping an eye on, and also keeping an eye on the jury deliberations in the A.J. Armstrong case. So we'll see you on television at 10. Thanks for being with us.
Good night, everyone.